We are 5 minutes into class, but we'll make up. I'll show you what we got going. I've already been contacted by 2 students who couldn't make it. They said they'd watch the live stream, so that's what takes a little extra time to get set up so that whether you're here or whether you're someplace else, you can watch what goes on in class. How many of you got the message that I'm now live streaming through YouTube Live? Good. And you subscribe. Very good. That's a nice, easy way to do it. So I think it's going to be more accessible. You don't have to have an account, but if you do, you can subscribe to it. Go back to my YouTube channel, and you'll be able to pull it up. I'm also these are posted in Canvas, so you can watch them later if you want to see something again. What we're going to do today, we were scheduled to sort of start into chapters 2 and 3. What I've given you is the review for units 1, 2, and 3, which is everything we need to know. It's getting you ready for the test. We'll go over that, and I'll go over some of the content ideas in there that I feel are the most important, and then we'll let you start working on things. Next week, what I'm going to do is I will have a practice test that is 15 questions, multiple choice, taken from the test that you're going to take the following week. So in 2 weeks, we've got our first assessment. And if you do well on that, it doesn't matter what kind of homework or what you did. There's a lot of resources. You just have to learn the material. Okay, and I'm going to show you all the resources I've got set up for this particular packet. And then what you can do and all you have to do in this class is learn the material. Okay? If you miss, quote, and there's more ways to do it than one way. So I've got multiple resources. You don't have to do them all. You don't have to do any of them as long as you learn the material. Does that make sense? Okay, so as long as you're learning the material. I believe you'll have to do a few things to make sure you're learning the material, so don't just show up to the test and let's see what I do, because if you get 5 out of 15, that's not going to be good. My goal is that all of you get 15 out of 15. That's really my goal, and I believe we can do it. Oops. Sorry about that, Charlie. How many points do I lose for that, right? It's supposed to quiet our cell phones, but let's see. Okay, I'll do that. We'll put it on mute. Okay, so you ready to see what we have ahead of us? Okay. Oops. And I left my Bluetooth behind, so that's why I'm wired now, and hopefully I don't kill myself by tripping on this thing. Okay, let's see. Let's switch over to this. So now the video is going to be on the screen, so whatever's on the screen is what everyone else will see. And so we're going to go into Math AS. And I realize some of you have some issues with registering or with getting online here. Wow, how do we? But I've got a password that will work. I've got to look it up in my email. We'll get all that settled before we get working on things. Teach in 4 different classrooms, and it's like each one sets up differently to get things to fit on the screen. Come on. Okay. So here we go. pretty much there. Okay, so you'll be logging into MathAS. And again, if you have any issues with this, I'll work with you today. What I want to do is I want to show you where all the resources are that you're going to be working on this next week, starting today. So hopefully, and it looks like 4 more of you have registered since the last time I checked, the last 2 days, so that's good. If you hadn't registered, I sent out an email with a link how to do it. And again, it's really important to get registered for MathAS. After today, the welcome screen goes away. That's one thing, is you'll miss out on seeing the welcome screen. But more importantly, the sooner you get registered, the sooner you have access to all of this.
That's also on Canvas, like what the announcements?
Yes, it's within Canvas. It's there's a sheet that written that explains this. There's a video that explains how to get registered for this course. It's all there in modules, and I'll show you that in the next step, what's in Canvas and what's here. But this is the content part of our course, and we have Unit 1, 2, and 3 on our first test. And what I'm going to tell you is that we'll use Units 1, 2, and 3, the homework and everything I kind of showed you last week, how to work through it. That will be if you really need to start from square one and learn all the content. What I'm going to suggest, though, is that you'll jump to the review for Units 1, 2, and 3, because that's what I've given you today. That's what this is. And I'm going to show you where it's at, and I'm going to show you the resources that are associated with it. It's one for you and one for your friend across the hall. Okay? So, first of all, there is this review Units 1 through 3 that's online. It's just a bunch of questions. Okay, this was always been there. So you could go ahead, if you did all these 30 and you understood it, boom, you're good. Okay, these are review, get you ready for the test. What I just gave you today is the paper review for Units 1 through 3. So I'm going to click on that. It opens up in a new tab, and you'll see this is the paper you have in front of you. If you're online right now, you'll need to print this out or come to campus and get it from me. I do have copies. But this is, and if you work through this once and you want another copy, you can just download it, print it off, or again, let me know you want some more copies. But this, it's 12 pages. I know it's a lot, but it is spaced out so that you can work through it. But this will be all the types of content type questions that will be on the test. Okay, so this is what we need you to learn. So my suggestion, and everything I give you is suggestions, and my suggestion is that you start today working through this to see what you know, see what you don't. If you get stuck on something, maybe skip over it and just find the things you understand, find the things you don't. And then you could go back into the units. But better than that, how will you know whether you understand or not? This is just a piece of paper, right? Did you get a copy? Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, you'll come back here, and in MathAS, there are the solutions to this review. I'm going to click on that and show you what that is. It's the same thing that's been worked out. And this is actually might be better not to print because there's some color coding and highlighting in here, but it's a way you can review your answers to see if they matched. Or if you kind of work backwards, if you say, maybe if I saw the answers, I'd understand how to do it, because they sort of work through some of the problems here.
So that's all the answers to this?
It is. So you have all the answers. So go. One way is to work through it and then check your answers. If you get stuck on something, you could look at the answers and maybe that'll help. You're not handing this in. You don't need to. I mean, I'd be happy to look and work over it with you, but there's no points attached. But this is a way to verify that you learned or do the learning. But more than that, it's like, that one of those commercials, we got these Ginsu knives. And in fact, actually, I met a person whose father invented the Ginsu knife. She works here in Maricopa. I think she works here. Actually, she works here on campus. Her father was one of the inventors of the Ginsu knife. How many of you know what a Ginsu knife is? I saw those commercials. Okay, it was a fancy knife back in the 80s or something, right? Did everything. Anyway. What we have additionally is video solutions to this paper that you have. Okay? So I want to show you that. Again, and I'll get you, we'll then start working on maybe getting you all logged in and on computers, because this is where it's going to be helpful. If you get to a couple questions, you just have no clue what's going on, you come here, and it's units 1 through 3. Let's see, what does it say? Where does it tell you which problems they are? It's looking different because, let's go down. Oh, here we go. So questions 17 through 21. So say, hey, I question 18, for some reason I just don't understand it. You come to this video, click on it. You'll get to see it come up. It's 11 minutes long, but maybe you don't need to watch it all. You could fast forward to maybe question 18, okay, or 20, whichever one or if you're having problems with 17 through 20, go ahead and watch the whole thing. Now there's some audio with it as well, but you'll see as they talk you through it, they walk you through it, okay? So this is sort of the Reader's Digest version. Some of you may need to go back into the other units and learn some things a little more deeply that you might be missing, but I believe this will help you find all the things that you know pretty well, and find the few things that maybe you're struggling with, and then you can go back and go more depth into the full lessons. Okay, so we've got 3 full lessons, 1 overviewing lesson that has all the types of questions that will be on the test. Right. It shouldn't take you, again, even if you just focused on this packet and watched these videos, I haven't added up all the time, but it's probably about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours worth of total videos. It will give you the content for the 3 units. And I know all of you have seen some of this. There's, counting, there's multiplying, dividing, there's sine numbers. I know you've seen and done some of this. And some of you will understand things more deeply than others, and certain sections will be better understandable to you than others, and some you'll need to go back and do maybe a little more review. So the goal is to get you through quickly first to find out where that is. The goal is that you get this all done by next Wednesday. Next Wednesday, what I will have is a 15-question multiple choice practice test that is based on the 15 questions that you will be taking in the real test. So as far as you could tell, there really could be I could swap the 2 tests and they would both serve the same purpose. So in a sense, you're going to see what the real test is going to have. And that's what you're going to need to do is be able to answer those 15 questions, which comes from this content. And again, I give you 4 answers. 1 is correct, 3 are wrong. So part of this is you're going to see all you have to really be able to do at the lowest level is to be able to identify a right answer. Okay. You do not need to show your work. You just need to choose the correct answer. That's all we're going to see. Okay. There will be a portion that's sort of extra credit that I'll have a few questions I'll ask you to show your work, but that's more for me to assess where you're at. Okay. But if you can answer the 15, because this is what the department says, is here's 15 questions. If they pass this unit. Okay? So if you get 70% or better, you have passed the unit. My goal is not 70% or better. My goal is that you all get 100%. Okay? That's what I'm shooting for. But all you got to get is 70%, then you pass it. Okay? If you don't pass it, we'll work at it, and we'll come up with a plan. But the goal is, if you study this particular packet, this has all the content knowledge you need. Next week, we will take a practice test, and then we've got a week for review. So we've got 2 weeks to do all of this. And it seems like a lot if we're going to try to do 3 units, but let's call it 1 unit of review of these 3 different types of topics and see how we do. If you need more in-depth, again, we'll go there and get you the in-depth. We'll work with you. Questions? No, the test has 15 questions. So next week I will have 15 questions. This is what, 45 questions. So it's more stuff than it's more than what the test will have, but it's because it gives you the same content. It asks you multiple times the same types of questions. So you get probably about 3 questions for every 1 question that'll be on the test. So this is our time to practice and do it. This should be harder because it's open-ended than the multiple choice. But isn't it better to have the practice, the work, the learning part harder than the test? I think so. Than having something easy and then give you a hard test, right? We'll give you the hard part now. Hard part is going to be working through these 45 questions. It's 45, isn't it? Anyone look? Go to the end. Yeah, 46. Sorry, I don't want to leave off that last one. But again, you've got videos that'll work you through, and you've got a solution guide. And if you just focus on it, if you get this done, you will be ready. I tell you, you will be ready for next week. The other stuff in Math AS that I gave you the first day and said you have to do this much to earn these many points, if you do this, if you do well on the test, all those points will be given to you, okay? But those are still some good resources for you, okay? So you'll find where you need more resources, you'll go use them, okay? It's kind of a pick and choose. It's not a one-size-fits-all that just sit down and watch all these videos, do all these problems, and you're all of a sudden going to know math. But I think if I give you a way to get through things a little quicker, I'll give you more time to focus and reflect back on what you need to do, what you understand and what you don't understand. Okay? Because again, what I see this class as is we're not building a freeway, we're not building the highway. You've got that built already. What we're doing is we're filling in a few potholes along the way. We need to find where those potholes are for you. We'll get those filled in and your road's going to be nice and smooth. How's that sound? Okay. Good. Okay. A little bit of feedback. Yes. And could you take one to the young lady in number 23? I think she just came. Anyone else? Okay. So now I took a quick look over here, and there's a few things that I would like to spend. See, we go from 10 to, we got to 11:40, is that correct? Yeah. So let me take until 10:10, 10:50, or when the big hand is on the 10, let's put it that way. 10 minutes to 11. That will leave a full another almost, 50 minutes to work with you individually, get you working on things. But let me take a few minutes with looking at some topics. Come on. Where? Oh, let's see. Come back here. Looking at some topics that I know might be the potholes for you. It might not be, but we'll see. These are general pothole filling. Okay. Can we do that? Let's see, 10, 20, that's 30 minutes. Can I have 30 minutes? I wish we could make these screens go down, but we can't. At least I don't know how. So if you're behind a monitor, it's kind of getting you, we'll get there. Okay, so this is Little Crow's take on math, the quick way to get through. We talked a little bit did we talk about operations in math? What is an operation? Okay, that's involved, yes. Order of operation, PEMDAS. What is PEMDAS? Okay, this is my, in fact, interesting enough, working with the student, we came up with this symbolic form during Christmas, and it kind of looks like a Christmas tree, I guess, you know. So yes, parentheses. Whatever's in the parentheses, you do that first, right? So this is order of operations. Exponents, we do those next. And then multiply, divide, from left to right. So sometimes we actually do division first if we just work it from left to right. So it's not that multiplication's always first. That's one of the problems that comes up with PEMDAS. because the M comes before the D. You think you've always got to multiply first, but it's left to right. Same thing with addition and subtraction. Add, subtract. Again, left to right. Sometimes subtraction actually gets done before addition if it's further to the left. So if we hit it first, we do that. Okay? So there are some problems in here that sort of test your understanding of PEMDAS. And a little bit that tests your understanding of sine numbers, working with sine numbers. There's a whole unit that we will go on that with that later. The other thing is on the test, what do you think? Should we use calculators or not? Yeah, one yes.
Yes.
I got another yes. Can I get a chorus?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Any no's? She said, no, those calculators are terrible. Let's not use calculators. Good. That's the way I feel. If we're going to do math, let's have a calculator. So if you can go through these with a calculator, a lot of the stuff will take care of itself, depending upon your calculator. Now, the one thing you need is you need your personal calculator that you're comfortable with. Many of the new calculators, if you've got a string of calculations to do, you can just enter it all in, and it will take care of the PEMDAS for you. If you're having problems, get one of those. There are some calculators, and those, maybe the ones on your phone, that you can only put in two numbers, and it won't do it all for you. And if you're fine with that, that's great. But if you need help, get one of those calculators that basically does it all for you.
What would you recommend for a calculator to take you all the way through math that you don't have to?
Well, it all depends on where you're going. So that's if you're going into sciences and such, the TI-84. Why did that do that? Oh, that's okay. Oh, it's a video. That's what's going on. Sorry, I get distracted here, so let's get rid of it. The TI-84 is a graphing calculator, and it's one calculator will take you all the way through. It's a little intimidating to learn at this time, so there's something called a TI-30XS multi-view. This one we have several of these here. You can use them in the classroom. I don't have enough yet where I could let you take one, but if you want to use one while you're here, you're welcome to. And this is this is the calculator they use in some of the videos, because it's a really good job of doing with fractions, order of operations, and it's a little easier to learn than the graphing one, which has a lot of features you're not going to use yet. So this is the one that's recommended for this course. But again, if you want to start getting used to one that maybe you're going to use all the way through, the TI-84 is probably the one you want to, invest in. But you might do it later. We do also, they have TI-84s available in the Media Center. You can rent them for $10 a semester.
Oh.
Okay, so you might want to rent it first and then buy later. Okay, if you're going into Math 141, which is college math, a lot of majors, journalism, sociology, nursing, education. There's a lot of majors that go that route. To 141, you won't. This calculator will take you all the way. Okay, so, but again, well, let's just get through this first step, and we'll go there. Okay. What I want to focus on, though, is an operation. When we say an operation, there's really only two that we need to think about. Okay, an operation is a way of combining two numbers. So we can go 3 plus 5. That is, addition is an operation. If we do 3 plus 5, what do we get? 8. Okay. One of the things I want you to start thinking, and this is in Unit 1, if you've gone through it, they kind of do it, is that numbers are not really traveling in pairs. We think of 3 plus 5, and then on the flashcard, if we were memorizing things, on the back side was the 8. We think of these almost separately, that 3 plus 5 is equal to 8. But another way is to think that numbers all kind of travel in triangles. Okay, so we can think of 3 plus 5 equals 8. And when we think of it in this way, 8 minus 3 equals 5. 8 minus 5 equals 3. So you can see there's this relationship. When we add is sort of the forward, we get the answer. But if we take that answer and subtract one of it, we get the other one. If we take the answer and subtract this one, we got the other one. And I think there was an activity in Unit 1 that had you kind of looking at this triangular relationship between these three numbers. The other one is if we took 3 times 5. 3 times 5 is not equal to 8. It's because it's a different process, right? 3 plus 5, when we're adding, what are we doing? We're taking 3 things, 5 things, and we're basically just putting them together in a group. That's addition. We added. Subtraction is we take from that group and we take maybe 3 away, and then we're looking at what we're left. So we see this process is just bringing things together and sort of counting what we got. But when we multiply, what are we doing? If I take 3 times 5, 5, 5, 5, I'm actually sort of manufacturing some new stuff, aren't I? So multiplication is a different process than addition. Okay? So 3 times 5, though, 5, 5, 5, we could get back to addition. That gives us 15. I got that right, didn't I? Sometimes I get my facts mixed up, so I want to make sure I get it right. Okay. So again, that gives us a triangle where we have 3 times 5 equals 15. But what's the opposite, or what's the inverse operation to multiplication? How do you undo division? So see, we just think division is just the same as multiplication. It's just the opposite direction, right? So if I took 15 and divided it by 3, then I got my 5. If I take 15 and divide it by 5, I got my 3. I was looking this morning, I came up with this sheet of triangles that have all the multiplication facts in there, and you can kind of set them up. It's a 3D thing. I'm playing with it. I've created one set of it, but I believe if we did flashcards this way, you would start having.
What's it called exactly?
This is just called addition and multiplication. So this is, yeah, I don't know if any, they might have some fancy name, but I don't, fancy names I'm going to forget. I'll tell you what, where I saw this first, I went to real estate school because I teach, there's a real estate unit in the college math class that I teach. So I thought, well, I should get a real estate license. So I went and studied, and at real estate school for math, this is how they teach you how to do a lot of things because it makes it a lot easier. And when you're missing one part, you just divide, you get this. So it'll also help you with the algebra when you start thinking this way. Okay? So they did that in real estate school because a lot of adults there, that's one of the parts they struggle with is the math part. I was a math teacher. It was the easier part for me. I had to memorize a lot of other stuff. And one of my previous students in my Math 141, I got talking with him, I didn't realize he was a real estate broker. So I said, well, can I hang my license with you? I'm not really looking to do much real estate business. I just wanted to get the license. I've done a little bit, but now I'm trying to say I'm too busy to do that because I want, teaching's my thing I want to do. But yeah, if you follow through with this, you'll see this. If you go to real estate school, you got the math part done, you'll have people actually wanting you to tutor them. Okay, so that's one way you want to kind of look at things. So where this gets us though nicely is I'm kind of jumping into Unit 3 where they start doing factoring. Is we can take a larger number. Someone give me we did this at the beginning, right? A 2-digit number, multiplying 2-digit numbers. This is not that trick, but somebody give me a nice big 2-digit number. 46? Okay. So we're going to take 46 and we're going to factor it. What factoring is getting it down to the numbers. These are the factors of 15 here, right? 3 times 5. 3 and 5 are factors of 15. So one of the questions they're going to ask us to be able to do is to factor numbers. So what we do is we just have to start thinking, sort of drawing off this triangle, what 2 numbers multiply to give us 46? Yeah, we're trying to, what's the easiest way to think is to think small. So noticing 46, 46 is an even number. What number always goes into an even number? 2. Start with 2. Now 4 might have worked, or 8, some other number might work, but start with the smallest and you'll see it'll make this thing easier. So let's put 2 here, and then I could bust out my calculator, 46 divided by 2, right? Because that's this part of the triangle. So 46 divided by 2 is what? 23. And some of you might have just done that in your head, or however you do this. But so 2 times 23 is 46. What we've done is we've just factored this so far. 2 is what we call a prime, and this is in there too. What does a prime number mean?
More than one.
More than 1.
Because 2 is like it's appearing more than 1 twice.
Okay. It has something to do with 1. What is a, let me give you an example of something that's not a prime number. Well, 46 is not a prime number. Why is 46 not a prime number? Okay, a prime number can only be divided by itself in 1. Yeah, so it's the factors would be, so the factors of 2 are 1 times 2, and that's all you got. But 46 is not prime because we've got 2 numbers that are not 1 that multiply to give us 46. So this is called a composite number. You don't need to memorize that part, but you will see the word prime. Okay, a prime number is something like 2. Okay, so is 23 prime? Well, now what we got to figure out, is there any other number other than 1 and itself that can divide into 23? And some of you might say, well, I don't think so, but how many of you are absolutely sure that 23 is a prime number? Okay, good, because if you were, we need to go through this. So can 2 go into 23? Why not? It'll give us a decimal, but how do you know looking at 23? What is 23 not? What kind of number is 23 not? It's odd, it's not even. 2 will divide into even numbers, but not odd. So that's one of the first rules you want to learn. So let's learn, so 2 divides into even numbers, and only even numbers. Does anyone know the rule for divisibility by 3? There's a special rule where we can find out if it's divisible by 3. What's that? Yes. Of course I can give you a hint. So what we do, it will be divisible by 3 if you add the digits together and that number is divisible by 3. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to check 23 to see if it's divisible by 3. We take 2 plus 3, and what do we get? 5. Can 5 be divided by 3? No. Okay. But maybe some of you knew 23 wouldn't work because 7 times 3 is 21, but it's a big number, so we make it into smaller. I know that 3 does not divide into 5. Okay, so 3 doesn't divide. Will 4 go into this? Well, if 2 doesn't go in, 4 won't go in because 4 is made up of 2s. So that's another, there's a rule for 5s. If it's divisible by 5, so I'm going to say no. If it's divisible by 5, what kind of a number is it going to look like? How can you know if a number is divisible by 5? It ends in a 0 or 5. Excellent. You've got to know these. So it will be divisible by 5 if it ends in 0 or 5. So just, you know, we only need to know really these 3 rules, maybe, and we'll go to a couple other rules that'll be helpful. But this is how you're going to factor numbers. You try the small ones, 2, 3, and 5. If they don't work, then we're, you know, and is this divisible by 5? No, it ends in 3, not 5. So we know it's not divisible by 5. What about 6? It's a little more complicated. It has to actually be divisible by both 2 and 3. Well, we already found out it's not divisible by 2 and it's not divisible by 3, so 6 isn't going to work. 7's a weird one. There's really no divisibility test, but we could try it. So you could take 23 divided by 7. You see, you get a decimal. So that's not going to work. Okay, and 8's going to be the same. 8 is an even number, so it has to be even. 9 is a factor of 3, so if the 3 doesn't work, the 9's not going to work. And 10, has to end in a 0, so we've kind of already tested all of these. So by the time we get really to 5, we've done all the major tests, and then all we need to start doing is maybe test a few of the prime numbers, and I'm going to give you the list of the first few prime numbers. So the prime numbers are 2, 3, 5, and so that's why we start with those. Start small, don't try to start big. Start small and work your way through. The next prime number is 7, because there's nothing that divides into 7 except for 1. What's the next one after that? Which one? 11, good. After 11, there's one just before, which one? 13, okay, yeah, that's, sometimes I hear things. I used to play bass guitar in a rock group when I was in high school, and my hearing is not, it affected. So anyway, I didn't wear earplugs back then. 13, good. And then what's the next one after this? Good. So this is, you know, we jump all the way. You could test these out. 17, 19, 20, 21 is okay. 22 is okay. 23 is the next prime. So since 23 is prime, do we need to go any further? No. In fact, we can't go any further. These are the two factors. Okay? So we don't need to know all the prime numbers all the way up to any particular, but you know, if you kind of have this list down, you'll be okay. So that's one of the things you'll see. You'll be asked to do a little bit of factoring, and we'll apply it a little bit later when we get to fractions. And it's, so some of these are skill-based stuff. Okay? Does that make sense? The three numbers, that the two things we add and we get a number, the two things we multiply, we get a number, and then division and subtraction come off of the addition, the multiplication. So if we just focus on addition, multiplication, these other ones are the inverse. So again, I like to think of math as we're really only doing two things. We're either going to add or we're going to multiply. And then thinking of division and subtraction as just the opposite part of those two operations. Okay. Let's see. There's some word problems in here. We can go through it, but most of it is going through and learning, are we either multiplying or are we adding? Okay. Now I've only got, I always say I only need 20 minutes and then I'll talk for 2 hours, right? I want to show you how we deal with, how we can deal with addition for everything, okay? Let's say we start off the day, in our wallet we've got $60. It's a good day, right? Most days I don't have $60 in my wallet. In fact, usually it's negative. But, and then we are going to spend some money because we've got to get lunch. How much was lunch going to cost us? 10, 17, 20. Oh, you guys eat good. I'm like $3.99 a slice of pizza, and that gets me through. No. Now, I bring my lunch, so I don't have to buy it. But whatever we need to spend, we're going to. Now, how could we think of that spending as an addition problem? I'm going to add on what? Let's say it's $17. Like my lunch cost me $17. How do I add on $17 in a way that's going to take money away from my 60? I added a charge. Just think of it that way. Yes, I'm adding a negative 17. Okay. See, now I could have just written this also as 60 minus 17. You could, and that'd still give me the right answer. But what I'm getting at is if we start to think of even subtraction, instead of thinking of it as subtracting, thinking of it as adding a negative, what we're going to do is we're going to build a way of thinking of PEMDAS in a way that is more powerful and will lead us right into algebra. So when I'm teaching you, I'm trying to think of the next step. I'm trying to get you something that's going to keep you, that's going to be valuable for you, not just today, but in your next few classes. And watch this. Why is it so important to do addition? What can we do with addition that we can't do with subtraction? Well, not quite multiply, but is it indeed that if I take 3 plus 5, that's the same thing as 5 plus 3? Do I get? But if I subtract, do I do so? 5 minus 3, is that the same thing as 3 minus 5? There you go. It's the same value, but it's a negative. So this, with subtraction, I have to be very careful about order. Addition, I can be real sloppy. I can do it in any order, so I can switch these around if I need to. So as you go through this, if you think of, instead of going to subtraction, think of subtraction as just adding an opposite. Okay? And sometimes they'll throw you a problem like, so we'll go to another one. They might give you like 47, subtract a negative 8. Okay? Now you could enter this in your calculator, get the appropriate answer, but how could I think of this as an addition problem? How can I think of it as 47 plus what? What's the opposite of 8? What's the opposite of negative 8? Positive 8. So it's really just 47 plus 8. Okay? So when I subtract a negative, I'm taking away a charge. That's the same thing as giving me my money back. Isn't that what you do at the checkout stand? Oh, put those fries back. Okay, we'll take the charge, $8 fries, yeah, whatever. They take that charge away, they give you your money back. Okay, so this is in the videos a little bit, but I'm just, as we work through these things, if we practice, instead of doing subtraction, turn everything to adding the opposite, you're going to see it's just going to, then you've got one rule. Again, here we add. Here we actually just subtract. Even though it says addition, what do we do to get the answer? We just subtract the two, right? And then we take the sign of the larger number. So 60 minus 17 is going to give us what? I think it's what, like $43? We could enter this in the calculator. We could enter it this way. But really, mentally, we just subtract. But we want to start thinking of them this way. It just makes the rules come together a little bit better. Okay. Multiplication, I'm not going to worry. We'll do some practice with the calculators, but when we use sine numbers, I got 2 minutes, so let me do this. I'll show you the one, because they use a number line here in some of the things. I'll just use a real basic number line. If I've got this number line, positives go to the right, negatives go to the left, right? Correct? Okay. Let's multiply each of these numbers by what? Someone give me a number to multiply by. 10. Very good. So multiply each by 10, positive 10. 10 times 0 is? 0. Okay, good. 10 times 1? 10 times 2? Okay, so this is just, watch the pattern. As I multiply by positive 10 and I move to the right, what's happening? What's happening to the? It's increasing by 10. Cool, nice pattern. If I go back the other direction, 20 to 10, what's happening to the numbers? They're decreasing by 10. So if I go this way, what should happen if I decrease from 0? If I decrease by 10, what should my answer be? Very good. It just follows the pattern, right? And if I go to the next one, negative 20. So when I take a negative times a positive, what I've done is I've discovered a negative times a positive is negative. A positive times a positive is positive. Those are what we've always worked with. Okay, so I'm just going to put those two rules. Positive times positive equals a positive, and a positive times a negative is equal to a negative. Okay, and we could do it either way, a negative times a positive, because multiplication is commutative. We can change the order. But now that we know this, let's come here. And instead of multiplying by positive 10, let's multiply by negative 10 now that we know how to do it. So what's negative 10 times 0?
Negative 0 or
Yeah, if you want to. 0 is one of those things, it's impervious. It could be negative, it could be positive. It's really neither. But what's negative 10 times 1? Negative times a positive is negative 10. And negative 10 times 2, negative 20. Okay? And so now I just go backwards. What's actually happening when I go the other direction now? What's happening to these numbers? Are they getting bigger or smaller? They're actually getting bigger. They're getting less negative. This is a hard one to see, but they're getting bigger by 10. So it's like I'm paying off my debt. I owed $20. I come back, oh, now I only $10. Now I don't owe any money. The next step is going to be what? Positive 10. Because I keep adding as I go this route. So this is a positive 10. This should be a positive 20. And again, what I've been doing is I'm multiplying by negative 10. So this process tells me when I have a negative times a negative, what am I going to get? Positive. This is one way that it just follows the pattern, okay? Sometimes it's hard to understand exactly. It just doesn't seem to make sense that a negative times a negative would be positive. But again, what we're really doing is we're taking away a negative. We're taking away a charge. You bought some sweaters. You bought 3 sweaters, but when you return them, if it's already been paid off, you end up with money back in your pocket. You end up with something positive. When you bought them, that's when it was taken away. You owe a debt now if you put it on the credit card. But when you had 2 negatives, make a positive. But that's with multiplication, okay? So there are a few questions where those basic things, and this is something, even in teaching Math 90, I still have students that struggle with this particular concept. And the way I deal with it is to try to get everything in terms of addition and multiplication. That's the only 2 rules we need to concern ourselves with. Because if we look at the rules for subtraction, they're backwards of the ones for addition. And that's where the confusion starts. So let's not even bring in the confusion. Let's just talk about addition. And then there's one set of rules, which is, well, when the signs are the same, we add. When they're different, we subtract. Okay? With multiplication and division, instead of looking at 2 sets of rules, multiplication and division are really the same. If the signs are the same, we get a positive. If the signs are different, we get a negative. Okay? And again, I know this isn't everything. This class is not intended to have enough time to teach you everything, for me to teach you everything in here, but it's enough to get you sort of, I'm more of a coach here, providing resources and say, you've got paper resources, you've got online resources, you've got videos, you've got me to come do some office hours with or some tutoring with, and you've got this class time if you need it, and I'll present a few things to get you started thinking, but then the rest, you have to go online, work through the things you need to work through. Don't ever worry about missing something as long as you're focused on learning something. Okay? If you'll focus on, all I got to do is learn it, and tell yourself, am I learning it? And if you can say yes, then I will say yes. Okay? If you're not learning it, then let's do something different so you're learning it. Don't ever get into the habit of just doing busy work. I've worked with students that said, which problems do I need to do? Let me do them. They'll do the problems, and then they think they're done. But they're not done until you reflect back and you actually learn it. Yes, you can go through and get tutoring or whatever, get a bunch of problems done, but what I want you to do is understand what you're doing and be able to answer 15 questions. Actually, just be able to recognize the correct answer to 15 questions. Because I know if you're able to do that, everything else will start to make sense as you go through it. Okay, so what I have for you is this 46 problem practice set, and this was produced by the same person who made the test that you're going to be taking. I will look at that test, I will change the numbers, change the problem slightly, make another multiple choice version of the test, so it's going to be like a pre-test, so you know what you're facing, you know where your problems are. we'll do that next week after you really work diligently to go through this with the resources. You've got the solution guide online, you have videos online, work through it. Things that you're really struggling with, go into the online videos. Contact me if you're struggling with something. Let me know. I'll help guide you in what to do. Come see me, and we'll just sit down and talk. Whatever needs to be done. One student was working with me. We were supposed to hook up about 4 o'clock. I'm working on doing online office hours, and I can do it with Google Hangouts because I can share my screen. We didn't hook up, so. But that's the other things. I will have Google Hangouts, and I'll try to make it where you can go maybe into Canvas and click a button and talk to me through video, and I can show you some things through video. But that's the idea, is that you have more access, practice what you need, but just focus on learning the content, not upon how many problems you got to do to get a certain grade. If you know how to do the stuff, you will get the grade, and you'll do fine. And not only that, you'll remember it in a way that will carry you into your next classes and get you that success. Yes. Yes, by next week, if nothing else gets done, this packet, this 46 questions. If you got stuck on something, watch the videos, and come to class with some questions. We can bust it out for a few of these, and then I'll pass out a practice test, and you'll see that practice test has problems that are like these ones, but multiple choice. Yes, calculators are not only allowed, they're encouraged. Yes.
So this is going to be for a grade, or this is just going to be like...
This is going to be for your learning. Yeah, the grade will be the test. So just think about it. We're just working, do what you need to do to get to the test. And then we'll fill in points, and we'll say, if you do well on the test, you must have done everything. I'll take this as the homework if you want. So if you do fill it out, we'll make sure that if you're doing some work, we get you credit for it. But I don't want you thinking this is so many points, that's so many points, because you might do this, but you might not do some of the other stuff. Or some of you might get stuck on this and say, I'm going to do all the other stuff, and then maybe I don't get this done. Yes?
Okay, so you want us to do the work on AS and that kind of...
That is another resource. So, but at a minimum, do this. And yes, if you can fit it into your schedule. Let's see
And
if
this was, the videos with this one was on Canvas or was AS?
Math AS. Math AS. And we'll go here. Let me come. Oops. Let's see what happened. Oops. Where am I? That one. Oh, no. That one. There we go. So, come on. Let's get in here. So minimum, get the packet done.
And
If
that's
you,
it in the review.
yeah, and it's in the review. So here, if you go here, this is everything you need. You'll be ready. But yes, at the top, the review units 1 through 3, there's homework, there's online homework. My goal is that maybe you get through this a little bit quicker and you have some time and you want to do some more work. Go do this one next. It's the review of 1 through 3, just to get some practice with it. It's not required, but again, we could count this as homework, or we'll find a way for it to count if you do it. But again, my goal is whatever you need to do to make sure you get 100% when we take that test.
Okay.
That's really, get yourself ready so you're feeling more and more confident. As you go through this, you should be able to answer these. Again, these are going to be a little bit harder than the test because you've got to come up with the answers. But if you can do this, the test is going to be, not next Wednesday, a week after that. Next Wednesday is the practice. So what we're doing is we're getting you really well ready to take a practice test. And if you get the 15 out of 15 on that, you're going to sit back and say, I'm okay. If you don't, we've got a whole nother week to make it happen. Okay, so my goal is to give you plenty of time. So next week I will have a practice test. And if you work through this packet, if you work through these as well, you'll definitely be ready. And if need be, Not required, but if need be, you also have Unit 1, 2, and 3, which are going to, again, we'll take a look at Unit 2. There's many lessons to watch. There's videos. It's going to be, there's a lot in there. But if you need that deep teaching, this is where you go. Okay. The other ones are going to be more of a review, and if the review gets you up and going, you're great. But if it doesn't, come back to some of these Unit 1s and go through in more detail.
And it's all the PDFs are in, so it's all the stuff you can print out.
Yes, this is up here is a PDF, so that's the lesson packet. If you bought it from the bookstore, you've got this already. There's the videos, there's online homework. You can do these or you can skip them. You never ever have a teacher that says you can do it or not. I don't care. I just want you to learn. So if you need to do it, come back and do it, okay? But work on that packet first, because if you can get through that packet, you're going to have that confidence. And when you come back and do a few of these, it's all going to make sense. It really will. So I'm kind of, like I said, I always do things backwards. But sometimes that helps, okay? But sometimes, I know if there might be like this big gap because you missed whatever, I don't know. But there might be these big gaps, and that's where this stuff in the units themselves, they'll fill in the bigger gaps. I'm trying to fill in the potholes. Let's get those filled first. And if we find a few big crevices in the road, let's go back to these and get that, bring out the construction crew and get it all filled in as we need to. But if you're finding success by going through it lightly and reviewing, I'm perfectly fine with that. Okay. So again, what I do is everything I put in my syllabus will be true, but at the same time, if you do well on those tests, you get up in 90% or better on all those tests, hopefully 100%, but 90% or better, that's an A. You will have an A in this class, regardless of what the syllabus says. Yes, sir. What's that?
But if I do all that, every unit, all the videos, all the questions, all the tasks, compared to someone who doesn't,
Yes.
and they essentially just take the test and they get made in the past, that means I just did extra work for nothing?
Well, if it got you to learn it, then do it because you want to learn it. I don't like busy work in my classes, so if you don't need to be doing that, I don't want you doing it. I want you working on some other classes that maybe you need to, or whatever, or taking a break and watching a football game, or whatever it is you're into. You need to do those things. But if you need to study, that's what that's there for. So my goal, my suggestion is if you did that all, it's because you felt you needed to, and that's what you're going to take with you. Yeah, there's going to be some of you, this is more review and such, and maybe you just go through more lightly and you don't do as much work, but you're going off of what you've learned before. You might not learn it as deeply, and maybe that'll show up later, maybe it won't, I don't know. But I want you to feel that if any work you do in here, do it for yourself, not for me. Because all you need to do is at some point show me that you understand how to do the stuff, and I'll give you those opportunities. And I give you that safety net, so if you give it a try in the first test, if you don't pass it, we'll work with you and we'll say, hey, whatever you were doing, maybe you do need to go back and do these. But if,
It helps.
it does. And and that's the thing you take with you. But do the work for yourself. Little Crow only needs to see 4 tests. If I see 4 good tests, I'm happy with giving you an A, regardless of whatever level of work you did outside to achieve that. So we'll look at your achievements. However, if you are doing all that work, it will help you. It'll boost. So say you got C's on the test. Doing all that work actually will get you to a B. So doing the homework gets you up a grade. So it's not wasted in that sense. But the person who didn't do it and just took the test, if they got a C, that's what they get. They get the C. But if you did the homework with the test, you're at least a B.
So you get extra credit and stuff if you do it.
Well, not extra credit, but I'm able to add that in as points.
Oh, because we do add it in.
And so it does, yeah, it'll all get added in there. But if you don't do it, I just take the test, and then your grade is just based off of that single assessment. Which if it's good, that's fine. You're happy. If it's an A, you're. But if it's a C, it's a C. A C with homework gets you to a B. Let's put it. A B with homework gets you to an A. So that's kind of how I work it. And I think it ends up being fair for just about everybody.
That sounds fair.
And the hard part is some of you are kind of struggling. What exactly do I have to do, and when do I have to have it done by? We got a test in 2 weeks. That's when we need to know the stuff, okay? And you have to adjust your schedule to just get it done. Okay? Does that make sense? Yeah, I would start on that packet, do as much of it as you can. What you can't do, skip over it, and then come back. Go in and look at maybe either the solutions guide, the printed one, or the videos for those questions. See if that starts making sense to you, and then you go, okay, now I know how to do this. Practice a little bit. Come back and do some of the online stuff as you need to. Again, but do it for yourself. Sort of keep assessing what do I know and what do I need to work on. Come back to it. Come back to the videos. Those are all in Canvas under modules. So there's a couple, and if one place I think you can go if you're kind of getting behind on things or you're not quite sure, if you go into the Canvas and go to announcements, as I post announcements, they are recorded there, and there's links to the videos. Start from day one and see which ones you watched and which ones you haven't. Really, everything's there, telling you how to get around. Each course will be there, again, whatever we do here. So this is our way to keep in touch with each other. If you're not here physically, that's okay. Again, there's really no points for being here, but if you need to be here, be here. If not, watch the video, either live or recorded, and you'll get the same information. I think they're coming through pretty good. I think I addressed the issue with volume. Some of them were a little low. I think I've got the volume pretty consistent now. If you spot anything on the videos, like as far as volume or something, let me know, and then I'll keep trying to perfect it a little bit. What I did today is when I was showing the screen, I just show the screen. I don't show a little video of myself over here. And when I'm showing this, it's just showing the whole board. It's not showing this. And so we'll see. I think it's going to be better. But if you have ideas, let's make it work. Okay? Anything else? Any question in your minds?
Do you take extra credit research papers, like if we find something that we're interested in that has to do with math?
Sure. Yeah, we can always find, I like that, and I like suggestions for extra credit. I can give about 10% extra credit. Again, so if you're doing some of the homework and the tests and stuff, so that's how you can maybe get that bump up from a C, do the homework, get you to a B, maybe a bit of extra credit, we can get you to an A. What's that?
You like the number 15, so how about 15?
15%. Well,
I think it's right in the middle, 20 and 10. I think that's a good number.
negotiations, huh? So maybe that's it. Yeah, bring me some ideas of how to do it, and sure, I'll almost.
Keep on track on the numbers. You keep on track.
Yes.
You keep on track with the numbers.
Keep on track with the numbers. Yeah. So
15.
very good.
So all this that we do online and we submit, you see everything?
Yes, I see everything.
Are you gonna comment, or do I just not expect anything?
Yeah, what
Don't see it.
I'll start looking over the weekend just to kind of get an overview of where you're at. I'll update grade books probably weekly. I might not do much this weekend, but
Yesterday, I was taking the test, and I don't know what I did, but I answered question 3, and then all the rest were like, I missed them all, and I didn't even do them. So I had to go back in, and it says to do it again, to try. So if you, I don't know if you see that, that's what happened, so.
I think I do. I think I see multiple attempts, but usually the last one's in there. And again, as far as the tests, or the quizzes, those are your use to kind of, if you take it first and do well, you're good. If you can take them multiple times. So the more times you work them, the more, those are the types of questions we're going to have. And again, just ask yourself, do I really understand what I'm doing, or am I just guessing enough times and then I memorize answers and I'm putting those in? That's okay, that gets you some points, but does, make sure you're understanding.
I followed the whole thing, like went from the watching them.
Uh-huh.
The,
Bless you.
the one you print out and then
Yes.
the answer, yeah, because
Excellent.
And I think that did help me.
Good.
But when it came to the test, it was like, when I did it, I was like, I did it the next day. I should have done it the same day that I studied, but I was like, had the other classes and my work and stuff. So
Right.
it was frustrating for me because it's like, okay, I know this, but thinking of all the other things I've learned, I was like, okay, but which one is this? But I did fine. I only
Good.
missed like one or two, and I guess I was okay with it, but it still
Sure.
bothered me because I knew I should know it.
Well, and we've got this time, and again, what you'll find is if you can do a little bit each day, and it's okay. I know sometimes you're going to need to block out 2 hours and sit down and watch videos, do this, but every day try to do a little bit, and you'll see what you remembered from day to day. And what that does is that gives us stream of consciousness where you start remembering because you keep doing it. 15. Well, on the worksheet, there's 46. But on the test, again, what we're preparing for is to answer 15 questions that are basically taken from here, because this is the review that was prepared by the same person that prepared the test. And next week, I will give you the 15 questions, so you'll know what they're going to be, the similar type questions, okay? Multiple choice format. It's going to be a test. It's going to be an alternate version of the test that I create.
So if I have a free day, I can sit there and try to go way ahead. If I
Sure, exactly, yes.
So if we don't understand a question, you said the videos with no math, yeah?
Yeah, so they are, for the packet, let's see, they are, again, keep going back a little bit more, they're under the review units 1 through 3, the right video solutions right here. So everything is in this review unit. The packet itself, the solutions written in the packet in color pen and highlighted, and then the videos themselves. And the videos are done in groups of a few, 4 or 5 questions. So if you have a particular question, you just fast forward to that part of the video. Okay, but yeah, and it's in YouTube, so you could come here, and I didn't do these. Another instructor did it. You could subscribe to Amy's website, and then you could come right back and see all her videos. But this one has it as a playlist, which is nice. So they have all the ones just for units 1 through 3. When we get through 4 through 5 or 6, or I can't remember what the next one is, same thing is going to be there. I will give you a packet for review. I will give you access to the videos, access to the solutions. We will study those things, and then we'll use the units as we need, and then we'll, bless you, have a practice test, same thing. Okay, is that? All right, any last questions? Yes. And I'll help you, yes, I know, you've been very patient at the very beginning. So we're going to leave the live stream, so you folks at home, get to work, print off the forms, work on the review. So sometimes I'm talking to the camera now, but they're not, I don't have the camera on, so they don't know I'm talking to them. Let's see, this is, there we go, okay. You folks at home, thanks for watching. Get to work on the packet. We're going to get to work on the packet here, make sure everyone's logged in. Get those 46 questions done by next Wednesday. Next Wednesday, I will have in class printed copies of 15 questions, multiple choice. I will have them also in Math AS for those that are going through the live streaming that don't make it to class. You'll be able to print them off, get to work on them. I may not have videos for them. I'll do what I can do, but we will work together on them in class next Wednesday, and then have a whole week to get tutoring on them, get ready for them. You'll know what the test you're preparing for looks like by those 15 questions. It'll just be 15 slightly different questions, but the same type of content. If you can do those 15, you will do fine with those the 15 that you need to take. And then we even have a little bit of time for review the day we take the test. We got 15, 20, 30 minutes, whatever we need, because all we got to do is get through those 15 questions. Okay? So prepare yourself with the 46. Next week we'll do a 15 practice, and then the following week we do the 15 real question test. Awesome. Okay, so. Let's see. Got ahead of myself a little bit. We're back, the live stream's back on camera. We need a word of the day to trigger attendance. So, let's see. Integrity. Did I spell it right? Is it I? Yesterday it was E's and I put an I's, and now it's I's and I'm putting E's. Is that good? Integrity. So you'll see when you go into Canvas, there will be a attendance test. There'll be four words. Integrity is the correct word to choose, okay? And if you're on the live stream, you had to watch the whole thing to get to this, but that's good. Okay, so integrity is our word of the day, and that's how we take attendance. I know you're here, but you won't actually be here until you do the attendance quest and say integrity. So, and once you do that, so it doesn't matter whether you watch the live stream or you're here, you trigger your attendance that way.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, sayonara.